GPeC Summit, welcome back. I have next to me Stephen Hoober. Stephen, hello.
Good day.
How was the event? How was the crowd?
Oh, very good. Larger than I expected to some degree. No matter how much we read about it, it's super cool to come to a different region and see how engaged everybody is.
Okay, what was the, best question you got from the audience?
Oh, you didn't tell me I had to memorize those things.
If you remember.
Not really.
Not really. Okay,
then I just kind of answer everything and rant on with the stuff. I just like getting questions generally.
Okay.
Like that thing.
I'm good at that, so I'm gonna take that job.
You like that.
Okay. But for those who are now watching the video and who didn't attend the event, can you please sum up a little bit your presentation?
Sure. I spent about half of it just ranting about doing things the right way, being data-driven, and recognizing that mobile is already here, not the coming thing, but it's already here, and we need to not use the old PC desktop web paradigms for that stuff. There's too much pushing for getting rid of a lot of cool new things that have come out from mobile and using old dumb stuff like tabs. So I demonstrated things like how we already addressed this in the 90s, no less. Had problems with tabs not doing stuff for e-commerce well. And then gave a set of guidelines, a simple 1, 2, 3, as I summarized it, checklist to organize your content on mobile phones for the way people actually look, based on real research, including some that I've done.
What are the top 3 things that online shops should take into account when thinking their mobile user experience? From your experience.
Oh, yes, you have to boil it down to 3 only. I can rant on for hours about pretty much everything.
You can add a couple more if you want.
No, I'll just rant, and I'm sure it won't be 1, 2, 3. The first one is, like several other speakers have said, be user-centric. Don't get caught up in your own jargon, your own internal processes, and this isn't just happy hippy-dippy stuff like, oh, we love users. It's the way that your business works. If you aren't selling to people, you don't exist. So if you want to do it pragmatically and not really love them and just do it for that, that's fine. But be always user-centric. And that means not just kind of keep in mind, is this happy for the users, but checking, using good qualitative and quantitative data for that stuff. Always check your analytics. Understand what they mean by getting out, not just bringing people into the room, and don't interview them, because there's a bunch of problems with interview processes. Not like this with usability ones.
Okay.
Or questionnaires, surveys and stuff, but doing usability style research. Preferably getting out in the field and seeing how people actually do stuff. And a lot of learning from the past. As much as I just said, don't use old web paradigms. The way people do stuff in their real life, for starters, it's often how we're trying to solve a problem in their real life. But also the way that they did stuff in the real life is often fine. It's evolved over centuries to do that sort of stuff. So if you're trying to replace or supplement your existing brick and mortar store, go look at how people shop. Go look at how they interact with the shopkeepers, to ask questions, when do they make decisions, how long does that take? And you can learn lots of stuff about that and make your digital experience more human that way.
What are the most frequent mistakes, let's say, in when people are conducting user interviews for usability reasons, from what you've seen?
Oh, the first is confusing the various methods.
Okay.
There are a whole bunch of marketing methods that are difficult or dangerous. The first is, I'll be one of the meanies about NPS. Net Promoter Scores are just not replicatable, and they're not real. It's not the way people actually judge stuff. If you need a number, you do what's called SUS, the System Usability Scale, which is great. You can just look it up now and find out how that works. Focus groups and surveys are both iffy to dangerous.
Why?
Surveys are very easy to build wrong. You
address the questions in the wrong way.
Yes,
right?
And you ask questions based on the way your company works, or you ask questions about what your goals are. How's the brand recognition for this? But that's not the way people think about things. So you can build good surveys, but they're so off. You have to hire people who know how to do that, and then you have to not second guess them. And let them do their jobs, and that's very hard to do. So I just usually start by saying no surveys. And the other one is focus groups and similar things like that, or otherwise user interviews. They're highly dependent on the interviewer being good at their job and not leading the questions astray. I have literally been in a lab setting where we hired out the stuff. Even though I can do usability research, we often don't for various reasons. So we'd hired out the lab, and the moderator, the interviewer, actually asked what results I wanted.
Okay.
Which is just ethically sketchy and bad. So instead you do observational stuff. This was talked about by somebody else, and he might answer the questions already. You do observational research. Have people use your product, whether real or fake, and watch how they interact with it.
And you don't intervene at all, or
that gets careful. You can ask them what they're thinking. Why did they do that? You can help. You help them when they obviously have a problem. But mostly you do just watch.
You just
and
notice and you know take.
Yep. And it's hugely informative. People in general lie about stuff. This is well known. Not on purpose. It's just kind of the way they do. Sometimes it's social. More people say they go to church than go to church when you actually count the people going in. Things like that. Sometimes it's just misunderstanding what they do. They think they did something, but they did something else, even moments ago. So asking them what they did is different than watching what they did.
Do you have a book or an online blog that you'd recommend those watching to, check it out if they want to find out more about conducting a proper user interview?
I'm sure, but
I know the mom test. Do you recommend the mom test? There is a book which
Nope, don't know that one.
No.
I write a lot of stuff. I've done a few of my articles. I have a regular column. Of course, I have a book, but it doesn't do much about research. I have a regular column for UX Matters, and occasionally I talk about research methodologies, including ethnography, which is the nerd term for going out in the field and doing the studies.
Okay.
Steve Portugal is probably my favorite researcher who's written books and stuff like that, and he has some lovely tales. He has one book that's entirely about basically horror stories of doing field research. So as a researcher, it gives you ideas for that. I believe he writes articles or as a blog or something like that gives you other hints about doing it as a foundational one if you're just starting to spool up a research organization in your company.
Well, go check it out. Is it so different to design an online shop for thumbs?
Well, it's not only thumbs, it's also fingers, and people change, which is my main research thing.
Okay.
But in an ideal world, my ideal utopian answer is no, because you've built it right the first time, even on desktop. But there are many things you do need to pay attention to. So a lot of what I talked about, for example, today was that we're getting by with misunderstanding, with building bad desktop websites, and people kind of manage, and many other speakers had the same thing. Oh, this looks like a normal website, but hey, we did this small change and 80% more people closed. That's doing it the right way. If you do a lot of those the right way and then squeeze it onto a mobile phone, it's not terrible on mobile. But you just keep doing that. You do a few more mobile-specific things, like I said. So desktop tends to be read top to bottom, much like a piece of paper, as you're reading even. Okay. Mobile is not. The things at the very top of the screen are kind of along the edges, and people's focus is in the middle. So you'd have to design along those lines instead.
And that's challenging sometimes.
If you're not used to it, it can confound you. Yeah, you don't know why things are turning out badly when you're watching people use the product, or your analytics don't make any sense. Once you understand the few real differences, that helps a lot. The other one for mobile is sensors. That people expect the phone to know about them. So, for example, coming to a site and asking which region are you in, click your regional site, or having them type in your postal code so I can give you the closest store. It's annoying on desktop, but it's not that hard to type, and it doesn't know anything at you. Your phone knows where you are, so that's hugely annoying. So you should build a slightly different experience to offer up the right information to people immediately. So it's because that's what the mobile phone is for. It's pull it out and get immediate information. And then there's all kinds of other cool stuff you can do, like in-store experiences. If you're in the store shopping and you want more data, you shouldn't have to type a whole bunch to find that stuff. So that starts getting into crazy stuff like Internet of Things and indoor Wi-Fi and stuff. Anyway, so we won't get into that. But
yes. How do you see this industry evolving in the next couple of years, for example?
In this region, I hope a lot more people. Well, I'm sure that we're going to get a lot more mobile websites. People will start understanding that their customers are on mobile phones, not the classic desktop computer. You'll see growth to 80-85% just in the next probably 3 to 5 years of people of customers will have a smartphone, or at least will be used and will start becoming used to using the browser on their smartphone to get to stuff. It'll be interesting to see if there's because there should be, but it'll be interesting to see when there's a transition to applications. In much of the West, the U.S. and part of Western Europe, you see a lot of use of, say, the Amazon app. Even though it appears to offer the same experience, it does some other stuff about keeping you logged in all the time and immediacy and one-click buying. That's very hard to do on the web in a as secure a way because of the trust factor stuff.
So would you say that the online shops that are just starting or thinking to start should opt for a mobile app for the beginning in the beginning, or should they have a basic website with a very good mobile version?
Always have a website.
Always have a website.
I mean,
okay.
If you build chairs, you need a website now. I mean, everybody needs a website, and it needs to be as fully featured as your desktop website. Maybe better. The application environment is
different.
Challenging. Like I said, in this region where you're getting so much web usage, fairly little app usage, especially in the e-commerce space. I don't know yet. I'd have to think really hard if a client actually asked me that for this kind of region, or parts of North Africa, for example, and stuff, where there's plenty of connectivity, but the app usage is more in the social space than the commerce space. It's a challenge. It would be might be very interesting to be the first
to start
in that space, but I would have to, I would want to make sure that we talked carefully about their expectations for it. You're experimenting to find out what sticks so that you're ready to move when it takes off big, or maybe you're the first mover in the space. But don't expect to suddenly see 5 times the sales. Yay, we have an app now. It's not going to magically get you the type of engagement that you get in the West because of the user expectations. People aren't used to it, so they're not going to download it and stuff. But
mature companies should definitely consider it, right?
Oh yeah, and if you're talking about the large ones, the British and German retailers that have big presence in this region, they should be extending it because they can do it very cheaply. They just need to start doing it regionalized, offer the right products in the right language, but they should just absolutely have an extension for their existing app or make a different variation. I mean, it should cost them hardly anything. So they should get into that, and that would be one where it would be a very easy sell. Is you should get into the space. It won't give you a lot of payback now, but you're set in the future. And for things like expats who live in the region who are already used to it, they can start to seed the environment for the rest of the people.
Well, that's it. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview, and I hope I'm going to see you again next year, perhaps. Who knows?
That would be great. I'd love to come back for this.
Thank you.
Thank you.